Well, welcome to Project 981 and welcome back to the channel. I'm out in the car. It's a fantastic spring evening. We've still got some daylight, the roads are dry. I thought it was time for a drive, but this is less a review, a driving review of the Boxster GTS, and more of a bloke drives his car, if you will. It's actually an opportunity to introduce my own 981 Boxster GTS, and having done my YouTube channel now for best part of 18 months, I realise I haven't actually ever gone through the car and described what it is I have, although if you've been a regular viewer, you've probably figured out what I own by now. So this is my 2015 981 generation Boxster GTS, and the GTS first came out I think as a 911 in the 997 Gen 2 variation, kind of as a sort of run out edition, but Porsche quickly realised that it had a lot of commercial value and were quite clever with their price and package bundling, so they started to sell quite a few of them. But what actually is a GTS, and what do you get for your money if you buy a Boxster or a Cayman GTS? So Porsche fairly quickly figured out that if they bundled some tasty options onto an S, they could create the GTS and we'd flock to buy it. And those key options were, well, the main option, the headline if you will, is a slightly more powerful engine. It's exactly the same engine as in the base and the S, Boxster and Cayman, but through the software tune, Porsche released a little bit more power, a little bit more torque. So the headline figure for the GTS is power of 330 PS, that's metric horsepower, and around 370 Newton meters. Newton meters of torque, which is around 273 foot-pounds of torque in old money. So not a huge amount more, but just enough to make it feel like you're getting a bit more power. And actually I should say the Cayman got 340 PS and a little bit more torque as well. So that was the engine tune, and then they added to that a good chunk of the goodies that we would otherwise spec on an S. So that was the sports chrono pack, and with that came, amongst all the usual bits and pieces, the PADM, the Porsche Active Drivetrain mounts. They threw in PASM, the adaptive damping for the suspension, which automatically lowered, well, not automatically, PASM comes with a lowered ride height as well, 10mm lower. They threw in the Porsche sports exhaust as well, and they also threw a few bits and pieces onto the body. So the headlights at the front and the rear lights had a smoked finish to them, a sort of slightly darker lens. There's a slightly different rear, I say diffuser, it's more the valance. The back end of the car with the twin central exhaust tips, and then more significantly at the front, a totally new bumper with more aggressive parallel intakes and a central radiator, and that bumper actually is a little bit longer as well, makes the car slightly longer. So that was an obvious visual feature. And then there were some niceties on the outside, such as the slightly improved headlights. So you got the bi-xenons, I think they were 35-watt bi-xenons with PDLS, so Porsche's dynamic light system, as standard as well. So some quite tasty options that if you'd spec separately would cost you more than it cost to buy the GTS. 20-inch rims, for example, came as standard as well. The sport design wheel. So let's talk about the interior. So you've got the sport design steering wheel. The standard interior trim was a mixture of leather, so a lot of leather sort of above shoulder height. I'm sitting quite low in my seat. And Alcantara, what we now know as Race Tex, slightly different, same principle, Alcantara below the tide line. So if you can see this chrome strip here on the door, broadly speaking, everything below that in the GTS cabin is Alcantara trimmed, everything above it is leather. And you've got a few other bits and pieces as well. You've got the what you didn't get was PCM, but you got the CDR system with the uprated, I think, a sound system plus, so a separate amplifier under the driver's seat and 7 speakers. Porsche, again, clever in judging that they gave away mainly the packs, the performance, the Ps on the outside, all the Ps. Most original owners would then spec the extra cost options inside. And I'll take you through a little later what my car has and what it doesn't have, and that's one of the ways that Porsche make their money. And talking of packs, there are a couple of packs that you could spec, the GTS packs. So in the crazy world of Porsche and the Porsche tax, you bought a GTS but you didn't get the GTS packs as standard. They were cost options. There was an exterior one which, largely speaking, put a lot of turned a lot of the satin black finish, for example behind me, into a piano black finish, and on the outside. And on the interior pack you got a whole load of different sort of tweaks to the trim, the most easy to spot being the stitching. So for example here, the so-called deviated stitching, so they used a red thread colour, and there'd be trim on the seat belt, there'd be a red face tacho, you got the carbon fibre hole, this chrome finish here was carbon fibre as well, and it made it a little bit more sporty, I think, with the idea. Certainly quite distinct, but those packs were cost options and a lot of people chose not to have them, and certainly the owner of my car did without them. So the person who spec'd this car, the first owner of my car, what's now my car, I think was actually quite astute, and funnily enough it turns out they more or less ended up speccing the launch spec, or at least the spec of the car on the cover of the brochure at the time. So the exterior in the carmine red, lovely carmine red, which is a solid paint, so not metallic, with the silver wheels, come back to those, and then a fairly light trim in here, so there was no GTS packs, and again I'll mention in a moment what I don't have. I think they got just the right bits and pieces to make this car worthwhile without going overboard on the options. And I mentioned the wheels were silver, and I'll drop in a photo now of the brochure, the cover of the launch brochure, and it has silver wheels. The 20-inch rims are standard. And my car, if you're a regular channel viewer, you'll know I've got black wheels. And when I was doing my sort of pre-purchase research on this car, I found some photos of it for sale previously, and it had, funnily enough, silver wheels. So it was kind of the original spec. Mine's got black, and when I bought the car I thought it was very odd because the valve stems were silver, and I thought that doesn't make sense. That's not the sort of thing Porsche would normally do. They'd normally sell you a black wheel with a black valve stem, and lo and behold, it turns out they had sold the correct valve stem with the silver wheels, and whoever got them re-coated, reconditioned, powder coated, whatever the treatment is to make the satin black, hadn't bothered, perhaps reasonably, to spend the extra money on the black valve stems. Anyway, so that could be a job for me in the future. I think my wheels need a bit of a refurb. So this is a good example of what a GTS would look like, literally look like, with the red and the spec it would have if you didn't go too overboard on the options list. I should add that my car is a manual, and that's actually quite hard. They're quite hard to come by. And it turns out that most people bought the PDK, the dual clutch gearbox, which, as we know, is excellent. And I'm actually got a video coming up on the comparison between PDK and manual, more on that in due course. But the PDK is great, and as I say, the majority of cars were spec'd with that. If I should say the aftermarket availability of them here and now in 2025 is anything to go by, which I think it probably is. So down this little road here, I'm going to just pop my sport mode on, sports exhaust, got some nice curves coming up, sun's in my eyes, let's have a little drive. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Roof down, perfect. So as I'm pootling through a Suffolk village, a moment of reflection. What is it that I love about the Boxster? Well, I think the first thing is just the mid-engine balance. It's just brilliant. I mean, that's hardly unique to the Boxster, but if you put the engine within the wheelbase and more or less make sure that the weight balance, battery in the front, for example, is at or around 50-50, you get a lovely natural balance to the car front to rear. It rotates really well, and the Boxster does that in spades. And then Porsche have been really clever with their, which is just to say good at their tune, because they have then put around that a very well tuned suspension setup. So my second thing I love about the car is the suspension. It's just really, it just works, and it works in a way that takes you down the road with you. It's got pliancy, it doesn't roll too much, you don't pitch too much, it soaks up undulations, it soaks up road nonsense without batting an eyelid, and you don't get jiggled around, the car doesn't get thrown off, it stays where you point it. And certainly in the UK with the PASM, I leave it in comfort mode in standard. It keeps the tyres in contact with the road, does a very good job. The third thing I love about this car is, well, it's got to be the engine. It's flat six, naturally aspirated. It's got a good chunk of cubic capacity. I mean, it's 3.4 litres. I don't know what that is in cubic inches, but there's a natural torque there. Oh, and the brakes are, oh dear me, the brakes make your head smack into the front of your skull when you go hard on them, don't they? Yeah, the brakes are always good. I mean, the Porsche's got a good reputation for brakes. Interestingly, the brakes on the GTS exactly the same as the S, so the same size calipers, same size rotors, the discs, and all the same, no difference at all. You could spec the PCCBs, Porsche, is it carbon ceramic brakes? Can't remember. The ones with the yellow calipers, fearsomely expensive, and ferociously expensive to repair if you crack a rotor. I don't have them, I don't miss them, that's fine, so that's good. You could also spec the fixed back bucket seats, or the fixed bucket seats, which I understand to be excellent, but they are a little bit harder to get in and out of. And but certainly if you were speccing a car to do a lot of track work, you might consider the PCCBs, you might consider the buckets. At that point, frankly, if you're buying a Boxster, you're probably buying the wrong car. You need to be getting into a Cayman. GTS certainly would be a very nice little track day car. But the fourth thing I love about the Boxster is the fact it's a Boxster rather than the Cayman, and the roof comes off, and it's absolutely lovely. So again, hardly unique to the Boxster, just convertible motoring. And I think, funnily enough, I think it's a common cited statistic, I believe it to be true, that the largest volume of convertible sales in Europe are cars sold in the UK, where we famously have fairly rubbish wet weather, damp winters, but we do love to get the roofs down on our cars, and yeah, this evening's a good example of that. So just making some progress. This is a really lumpy road, but again, the PASM, both in compression and rebound, does a lovely job of keeping the tyres in contact with the road. And as you go around a little corner, maybe a little lump or bump, it doesn't kick the car sideways. The tyres stay in touch with the tarmac, which is exactly what you want. Here we go, nice little tight first gear corner, right back on itself. A few little blips on the throttle, make sure no one's coming your way. A little bit messy, but oh, that's never going to grow old, is it? That's just smashing. Now, I have come out at the worst time of day It's midweek, it's going home time, so there's a little bit of traffic, but that's cool because actually one of the lovely things about the Boxster, and I've talked about this before on the channel, is the ability to be a GT and a sports car simultaneously. And by the way, it tracks very well, doesn't it, down the road? I've got some cars ahead of me, I can't crack on. I don't need to, I've got a bit of heat. Actually, I might just put my heated seats on. I have got the sun out, the roof is down, and it's just really chilled, isn't it? And again, the engine size has no bearing on how much enjoyment you can gain from doing this. It's an absolute pleasure. Whether you have got an S, a GTS, heck, you've got a Spider, you can go very quickly, or you can go very slowly and enjoy the roof down. So it's fantastic. And then if you want to click everything into gear and punt it down the road with a bit of pace, really extend the engine around to the red line, use all those 330 horses, then you can do, of course. I think that's what's so fun about these cars. They really can be a jack of all trades. And I haven't even talked about luggage space, but I probably won't because, well, you probably know how good that is already. Oh yes, heated seats. I do like those. I don't have heated wheel, but actually the Alcantara is a little bit warmer than the leather. It's to the touch, even in the depths of winter, so maybe less critical. Now this is a little bit cheeky monkey, but I'm in second gear, 1500 revs. Let's just wind it out, see what we get. Up we go. Now at this point, your brain's saying, change up, change up. I think we can do a little bit more. There we go. Nice. And there's the brakes, just off the throttle. Roll off the brakes, onto the throttle. It's so balanced. Oh yes. A little bit of a yump coming up. Oh, I love it. Then all order and calm is restored. It doesn't have that. I've never driven a big Lamborghini, or I've driven a few Ferraris, never a Lamborghini. It's not a car that intimidates. Even in GTS guys, there's performance, there's a little bit more of everything, and that's the genius of Porsche. They know that people will pay because more is lazily assumed to be better, but it's not necessarily the case. And actually, there's a lot of fun to be had in winding out any flat six engine, whether it's one of the very early ones or something a little bit more gutsy like this one. But that calmness is available, or you can, we've got a lovely stone wall here. Let's just do that again, shall we? Here we go. Oh, dearie me. I tell you what, it picks up pretty well, it really does. And well, we know about the long gearing, but that 3.4 litres, yeah, that'll help you pick its skirt up. You can pick its skirt up, it'll pick the car's skirt up, and you can quite quickly be making quite a lot of progress. Now, I don't tend to use Sport Plus a great deal. I am very happy with Sport, which turns on the PSE. You don't have to worry about PASM because it's in comfort, it stays in that mode. That's great. And crucially, I have the manual, and I love a bit of heel and towing. I love a blip on a downshift if I'm just cruising. I love a heel and toe downshift if I'm on it. And in the absence of the PDK gearbox, where Sport and Sport Plus will affect the shifts, there's fewer reasons to get involved with Sport Plus. Now, what it does add is the auto blip, which is really good. And if I'm really on it, then, and I don't want to fluff a heel and toe change, then Sport Plus answers that perfectly because it does it for you. And actually, equally, if you've got a friend driving the car and they're keen to have a bit of a go, but they're perhaps less comfortable with, or just less used to manual, certainly not heeling towing, then funnily enough, putting it in Sport Plus and then knocking back PASM, knocking back PSC if you want, but leaving it in Sport Plus with the auto blip is great because they don't have to worry about graunching gears and thrashing around to find the clutch bite point. It does it all for them. They won't find, it doesn't find the clutch biting point for you, does it? Of course it doesn't, but auto blip is a friendly way to help somebody who's not used to your car or the manual gear changes, to make smoother gear changes. And here we are, just jumping in. I'm pootling through town here. I'm doing 23 miles an hour, 22. I'm in 4th gear. I've got barely 1200 RPM on the clock, and there's a slight incline here. The car is so happy. That cubic capacity, just I love it. I love this flat 6. It's so good. Anyway, yeah, auto blip, Sport Plus. It's quite good if you've got somebody who wants to drive the car but is perhaps not happy doing heel and towing. So there we go, that's cool. Into 3rd, little blip. This gear change is so nice. Just fits span width to the hands there, and I don't think this is the fastest shift, the quick shift, but it's pretty good, it really is. It's going to set the car up here. I'm going to drop into 3rd here, balance it on the throttle, tickle it round, slightly tighter bend now. I'm going to leave it. I might just drop into 2nd here, in tow, on the brake, balance it round, car opens, bend opens up, into 3rd, bit of a blind bend, just hold it while we get the vanishing point, there it is, and I'm going to just pull in here and talk about my car and show you some of the interior. Yeah, not what I had in mind. So I'm going to just people down this next sequence of bends. Here we go, in 2nd here. Just so turbine smooth. And then a little bit of an overfuel on the throttle lift. This is really bumpy, but the car is so nicely balanced. Round we go again. I've got a really tight little left coming up downhill. Hard on the brakes. I'm going to get the car nice and stable, and I'm going to go into 1st and pretty much bring the car to a halt. That little burble as you pull away. Again, 2,500 RPM. Absolute delight. This gear change is an absolute pleasure. I just love it. And you've got Alcantara, little hole in the road there. Alcantara on the wheel, sport design wheel, standard in the GTS. And then you've got Alcantara on the gear change. So your touch points are just lovely. And if you've taken care to keep the Alcantara clean here, just feels fantastic. It's fingertip light. The steering, I've done lots of videos about steering. Suffice it to say, the steering is good and accurate, and I don't have any complaints. And I'm really enjoying, if you're a regular viewer, I should say, I'm really enjoying my GT4 map. I think my Geo needs fine tuning. The car's just pulling to the left on the motorway, but certainly down these lanes you wouldn't notice it. And yeah, the GT format's working really well for me. Very happy with that. So yeah, Alcantara on the wheel, on the gear knob, touch points are lovely, and there is very little to complain about. So I've pulled over for a little look at the car, and you can tell this is not a professional car review because it's, well, I haven't washed the car, it's dirty, look. Yeah, I've actually used it. Shock horror. Here we go. So what is a GTS? Here it is. 981 GTS. and I've mentioned most of the stuff that you get if you get one of these. Let's have a quick look. So let's start with that front bumper. Here it is, in profile, sticks out a little bit more, mainly because of this trim piece here, but you can see in the round we've got more aggressive intake apertures with the daylight running light set into those, and then the central radiator which came with the GTS integrated into that too, and jolly nice it looks as well. You've then got the smoked, so lightly smoked on the headlight with the dark edge to it around there. I think these, as I say, I think these are the uprated by Xenons, so obviously two units, and the PDLS Porsche Dynamic Lighting System comes with that too. Around the side, well, it's pretty stock. There you've got those lovely red calipers and the 330mm rotors on the front. Little GTS decal on the side. I think the intake is a slightly different design. There's a single vane there. I think the S has two vanes, but again, it's still the same shape, just a different design. And then around the back, we've got the slightly different, the GTS rear light cluster, a clearer lens here with a smoke to it, and then looking at that rear end, you can see how the shape of it's not a diffuser at all, is it, but you can see the underside there is a different design to the S and the standard one, and that is my little microphone. So hopefully we've got some decent exhaust tones on this video. You'll know that by now, I can't tell from here. And actually, interestingly, there's a tide line. I'm not sure you can see it quite, but the way the airflow has worked at the back of the car, just below the spoiler line, definitely muddy, and above it, far less so. So there's interesting, a bit of grubbiness going on there, the airflow. And obviously this side's very similar, and jolly nice it is too. Now, what else can I tell you? Well, the GTS pack added on the exterior piano black, so that very shiny glossy black to this little panel here, the lift up panel for the roof, and then the exterior of the rollover hoops as well, and in fact a lot of other bits on the outside. So these were piano black, and then, as I say, I've just been talking about the valance, that became piano black, and then right around the front, all the trim that we spoke about a moment ago on the bumper. So this is all piano black. Now my car, it's a standard spec, no GTS pack on the exterior, it's all satin black, and I actually think it looks really good. So you're not missing out if you don't get the exterior satin, the exterior GTS pack. Let's now have a look at the interior. So my car, again, standard GTS specification, and it's jolly good. It's a really lovely interior. Now you might think, oh, a bit too much chrome, but hey, it works. It is very coherent design. Let's pop open the door and have a look. So from the passenger side, very cleverly reminding you what you spent your money on with the trim there. Now I spoke briefly about the seats. So you've got the Sport Plus, or is it Sports Seat Plus with the wing there. Again, mine are the standard ones. They're not the 18-way. You get an electric adjuster for the back, and you get the manual. And interestingly, on this car, these are actually in black, sort of satin black. I don't think that was always the case. Footwell's all the same. There's a tide line on the outside. Here's the tide line on the interior. So everything, generally speaking, everything above the chrome is in leather and below in Alcantara. So there's the glove box, and we swing round to the side of the door. You can see again, you've got the leather above, Alcantara in the middle, and then I think that's actually a plastic trim. It might be leather, can't tell. Below that, the seats are standard, have the GTS embroidered on them. That's very smart. And then let's talk about options, because mine hasn't got that many, at least paid for extras. So for example, starting on the passengers, I should say the driver's door, I don't have, this is a good little telltale, the window panel. I don't have the auto folding wing mirrors. I don't have the light design package, so there's no little light in here, there's nothing in here. What else do I not have? I don't have Bose. You can spot Bose, which is the upgraded hi-fi with the subwoofer and the speakers behind the seats, by typically a little Bose badge on the speaker in the door. I don't have that. What else do I not have? I don't have dual zone climate control. I have climate control, but not dual zone. So I've got temperature and fan, but not the single speed here with temperatures left and right. So I don't have that. I do have PCM. So thank goodness the original owner spec'd PCM. Here it is, rather than the CDR 31 or 31 unit. And obviously I've mentioned Sport Chrono there too. I don't have cruise control. There's the telltale blank. I am planning to have that fitted, but I don't have it. I don't have the anti-dazzle rear mirror, but I have code enabled the auto sensing wipers, which come as part of that pack, as you know. There's my camera. What else do I not have? I don't have the Burmeister. I don't have the Bose, as I've just mentioned. But you know, generally speaking, it's pretty good. Interior pack, GTS interior pack, that would give you, amongst other things, the red-faced tachometer. Now, one of the reasons I love my car, and there's many reasons, and I've mentioned a few of them on this video, that for me is an absolute classic. I'm going to try and get the get some lens flare now. The absolute classic, legible red needle, orangey red needle with the very clear typeface. I mean, when you're sitting with that facing you, that is happy days. I don't like the red coloured face. I think it might give you a red coloured clock face on the Sport Chrono too. I've owned previous Porsches which were S spec, and they had a sort of silvered face, which is quite hard to see in half light. So very happy with that. And actually, you know, I think I've got a better interior for my personal choice and preference for not having the GTS interior pack. As I mentioned, you might get a bit of trim on the seatbelt there. I think you got red stitching on the edges of your mats as well, you know, little bits and pieces that make you feel special. And actually, don't get me wrong, the GTS pack is very nice. And the carbon fibre too, I haven't mentioned that, so that would all be carbon fibre. I mentioned that earlier. It's very nice. I don't have it, I don't miss it. If I could have one thing on my car that I don't have at the moment, I'd probably get the Bose. I do quite like my music, but I don't have it, and I have plans to do aftermarket upgrades. So that is my Boxster GTS, and jolly nice it is too, if I say so myself. Right, back in the car. Let's go and do some driving. It's not quite a cold start, but it should be quite nice all the same. Yeah, we're quite nicely warmed through on the T's and P's. Let's go and have a little look. The older electric handbrake will release itself if the seat belt is on and you're obviously in gear. Now I've just got a slightly busier car park than I arrived to, and there's a reason for that, and it's the same reason why my hair is shorter and I have a different microphone, and it's continuity, because, well, it turns out making YouTube videos is quite hard, and record buttons on GoPros can be quite fiddly. Anyway, I'm blessed with the same weather, roughly the same time of day, so I'm going to pretend that little continuity editing hiccup didn't happen. I am entirely back on the same road, however, and just burbling through this, yes, another lovely little, so good, isn't it? Another little Suffolk village, and I'm going to finish this video with my favourite stretch of road, there and back, and yeah, I'll just enjoy a bit of flow. Now, I'm lucky enough to have a lot of viewers in North America based on my YouTube stats, and that includes Canada, so US and Canada, and also out in Australia. Hello Peter, if you're watching this. And in the UK, and UK viewers will be particularly familiar with this type of road. Let's just put sport mode on and have a bit of a go, shall we? Oh, what a cracking evening. road surface is pretty good. Although there are a few potholes. It's reasonably well sighted, but you've got to be on your wits, have your wits about you for cars and junctions and what have you. The nice thing about it being a familiar road is that you at least kind of know what sequence of bends are coming up. Now, I'm not going full chats here, I'm in 4th gear, just letting the car flow down the road. Here comes a bit of a compression. Oof. Kind of a Harry Metcalf compression. And I haven't had a huge amount of change of speed down here. It's been more of an exercise in looking down the road and momentum, and I find the Boxster to be excellent at that. It doesn't have as I said a little earlier, it doesn't suffer from a lot of pitch and roll, and as a result it feels very natural to maintain momentum through a series of bends at any speed, frankly. Very nice indeed. So much so, I'm going to turn around and do it again. I always find it quite intriguing how the same section of road produces a very different driving experience going from A to B, B to A, one way or the other, and this road's no different. So let's have another go. Again, I'm kind of driving at a sort of a 7/10. There's a kind of, I have a bit of a sort of Spinal Tap amplifier thing in my head. Now the car doesn't go to 11, I don't go to 11, back through that yomp. But I don't enjoy driving at 10/10s, way too close to the envelope, edge of the envelope, and I quite like to keep my car in one piece, but certainly at 6 or 7, even 8/10s, you're still within the comfort zone of the car, and it's super comfortable. Comfortable not just in the suspension sense, but comfortable in the I'm really enjoying this and getting a lot out of it sense. Oh, this is a lovely, lovely road. Yeah, just stick it over there. Winding it out a bit. Dab of the brakes, set it up on the throttle, and then this is a much tighter little bend, so I'm going to go into 2nd gear. Nice. Again, the heel and towing, if you're interested in that, super easy. It's a bit of a misnomer really, because it's kind of ball of foot and side of foot. I don't get my heel involved, and my toes are just passengers at this point, but the point is you're pushing the brake with that side of the foot, and then you're just steering it, you're using that edge of the foot just to blip the throttle, which you can practice with the car stationary. The real skill is in the timing, and that's taken me a fair few years to learn. Timing of the throttle blip and the clutch coming up, and then there's the timing of braking into the corner. So I have learned to do a bit of trail braking, which this car responds well to because it helps the rotation, which you then have to moderate the degree of braking and how late you carry it around the corner depending on road speed, corner radius, and so on and so forth. Anyway, but here we are popping back towards home. So I wanted to get this video made because I plan to do a few more driving videos in 2025, and I was conscious I haven't really sort of done a this is my car video in 18 months of running Project 981. So I thought, right, get the car out, enjoy this lovely weather, introduce my car to the channel, talk about the GTS, talk about my car spec. Well, I wanted to get this video done because the next video is a comparison video between one Boxster, this Boxster, and another, looking at different drivetrains, engines, and so on and so forth, so you get a flavour of what that might be. But I thought, let's just introduce my car to the channel kind of as a reference point, and then we'll get a few more drives in as the year unwinds. Now, talk about unwinding, I'm just going to unwind my steering around a few of these bends. Excuse me for a moment. So again, just in sport mode here, not using Sport Plus. God, dearie me. That is so good. Now, I can see this delivery van ahead, so I'm going to just take a little bit of time to pull out of this junction. And this again is the beauty of the Boxster. You can stick it around a corner and fold those tyre shoulders into the tarmac, or you can just chill a little bit more. There's a lovely little sequence coming up, which I'm going to just enjoy, and the road is now clear. So again, second gear here. Let's use some torque, use some revs. Again, a road I know well, and you can get a reasonable look down it. Now there's a little Humpty Dumpty bridge, which is not terribly well sighted. I'm going to come into the middle of the road, drop a gear. I can see where I'm going now. Oh yeah, oh, that's quite fun. So as I poodle through yet one more village, the sun is just starting to set behind my shoulder. I have my sports exhaust burbling off the walls, and hopefully you've enjoyed a little bit of my car, the 9A1 Porsche Boxster GTS. Got a flavour of what it's all about, and that sets us up for some more videos to come. So as ever, it's been fun having you along. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed a bit of driving action. It's been, as ever, great fun making it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Take care.